the second budget town hall for Supervisor Holly Mitchell's office. We will give it 2 more minutes and then we will start. Thank you so much for your patience. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, welcome to the second district virtual budget town hall. My name is Kofi Kwasi, and I'm senior budget deputy for the office of Supervisor Holly Mitchell. We were going to go ahead and start with the logistics of the event. Vicky, next slide, please. Next. All right, so to start off, I want to remind you, as always, we want to make sure that we are all able to enjoy this event and get all the benefits from it. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a lot of icons at the bottom of your screen. Please, there's a globe that tells you about interpretation. So we have services for ASL as well as Spanish and Korean. So please go ahead and select the globe and select the language that best fits you, or that is the most appropriate for your experience. I also will note that please select English if you want to get the English service, Spanish or Korean or ASL. Thank you so much. You can also check on the chat. We have translation for that. I also want to say that whenever we're intervening throughout this meeting, please make sure that you speak slowly in order to allow for the interpreters to do their interpretation. Next. So we also are going to have a few rules as a community. Just want to make sure that this meeting is to allow you to talk to us about the issues that you're facing and or provide your comment to the budget, the county budget. The way this meeting will happen is we will first start with the supervisor's comments. Then we will have a presentation from someone from our CEO's office. And then we will leave it up after that to comments from the public. When you are making your comments, please note that you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. Please be respectful when you make your comments and professional. And if someone made similar comments prior to your intervention, please consider typing your comments in the chat instead to allow for diverse ideas to be heard within the limited time frame. We also encourage you to use the chat to ask other questions and or share additional comments. We have members of our team, in this meeting. And as appropriate, we will be answering questions, via the chat or, providing the services that is appropriate, as you guys make your request. So again, I just want to say again, thank you for joining the second budget town hall for the Supervisor Holly Mitchell's second district. So again, my name is Kofi Kwasi, and it's my pleasure to host this event today. Next. So because this event will have a lot of public comments, I want to share with you 3 steps that you'll have to go through to leave your public comments. The first, you'll have to raise your hands. We are trying to make sure that every voice is heard and, and the meeting goes as smoothly as possible. So in order for you to get a chance or an opportunity, please raise your hands. In order to raise your hands, go at the bottom of your screen. You will see a lot of icons. Click on the reaction icon, and then on there you will see raise your hand. When you raise your hand, please wait for your name to be called. And if you are calling from a cell phone, the last 4 digits of your phone number will be shared, and that's what we'll be calling on or calling upon. And once I call upon you, you'll be unmuted to speak for up to 2 minutes. Thank you again. And if you are calling from a cell phone, you please dial 9 to raise your hands. So for folks joining from a desktop or a laptop, the raise your hand icon is at the bottom of your screen. But if you're calling from your phone, you have to press *9 to raise your hands. Again, you will have to raise your hands. I'll call on your name or the last 4 digits of your number. And once I call your name, you'll be unmuted and you'll be able to speak up. All right, so let me make sure that supervisor is here. So without further ado, I see that she's here. I'm going to introduce our supervisor, Supervisor Holly Mitchell, to start off this event. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Thanks, Kofi, and good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone. I'm glad you're here participating. I want to thank my ASL sign language interpreter. I appreciate you. And I want to thank Kofi and thank the team in the CAO's office for participating in today's second district town hall. So just last week, we had the annual public budget hearing meeting to hear the public's perspective on the 23-24 recommended budget prepared by the county's chief executive office. And we heard a couple hours of public testimony via phone and in person. We wanted to create an ongoing opportunity to now host our second town hall to make sure that we are hearing from second district residents. It's important to me that you know about the budget process. So in our first town hall, my team explained the components of the budget to make sure that we all were on the same page in terms of understanding the budget process. I've had a steep learning curve. It's a different budget process than what I was used to for the 10 years I served in the state legislature. And I also want to make sure that my constituents, those of you I have the privilege of representing, understand the process and have an opportunity to weigh in. So tonight is your opportunity, a second bite at the apple, to make sure that we hear from you. We'll have a brief presentation from the CEO's office but again, the bulk of the time will be allowing you to share your perspective. So thank you all who've called in. We look forward to hearing your perspective on the county's spending plan for 2023-24 fiscal year. Thanks, Kofi.
Thank you so much, Supervisor. So now we're going to start with the first with the budget presentation from a member of the CEO's office. So we have Erica Bonilla, who's a manager in the CEO's budget operations team.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell. Thank you, Kofi, and the entire Second District team for the invitation to participate at this town hall meeting. It's really a pleasure to join all of you today. Before getting into the presentation, we'll kick things off with a brief video that provides an overview of the services provided by the county. So if we could please go ahead and play that video now.
LA County is the nation's largest municipal government. Led by our Board of Supervisors, we have more than 100,000 employees at your service. Sometimes you see us in action, fighting a fire, performing an ocean rescue, providing vaccinations, picking up a stray dog, or helping to check out a library book. And sometimes our services are only visible to those who receive them, like benefits that keep food on the table, or mental health care that calms a crisis. Whether high profile or low key, county services touch the lives of more than 10 million residents. Here's how. As the public safety net for the entire county, we provide certain essential services for everyone, whether they live in one of the county's 88 cities or one of our many unincorporated areas. These safety net services include public hospitals and health clinics, mental health services, including suicide prevention, and child welfare and child support services. And for those eligible, affordable housing and programs to combat poverty and homelessness, and public benefit programs like CalFresh and cash assistance to low-income residents. The county also serves all residents by running elections, assessing property values, collecting property taxes, operating a justice system of prosecutors, public defenders, probation, and county jails, plus alternatives to incarceration, providing medical examiner coroner services, managing the region's flood control system of dams, reservoirs, and underground storm drains, operating an extensive network of libraries, parks, and museums, and managing more than 24 miles of scenic county beaches that attract more than 50 million visitors a year. The county also serves most residents with extensive public health services, from responding to epidemics and testing ocean water quality, to conducting restaurant inspections, and much more. Those are some of the things the county does for just about everybody. Then there are the services that the county provides to only some residents. These include more than 1 million people who live in the unincorporated areas of LA County, as well as the residents of cities that contract with the county to provide some services for a fee. These services can include fire and paramedic service, sheriff's patrols, road maintenance, animal care and control, water and trash collection, graffiti removal, and planning and business licensing approvals. If you live in a city that doesn't contract with the county for services, your city will handle these types of municipal services for its own residents, and may also have its own system of parks and libraries like the city of LA. What about education? Most elementary, middle, and high schools are run by a network of 85 local and unified school districts, not the county, which plays a coordinating role through its Office of Education and runs some specialized schools. And of course, there are many government services that come directly from the state, like unemployment benefits and vehicle registration, or the federal government, like services to veterans and Social Security benefits. And that's a quick look at LA County at your service. You can learn more about county services and the county budget at ceo.lacounty.gov/budget.
All right, thank you. Thank you for playing that. Also, thank you to the CEO communications team for putting together the video. Obviously, a great snapshot of the services that are provided by the county. Very vast, diverse for the residents that we serve. A little bit about myself and my role in the CEO's office. I've worked for the county for 25 years, working in various administrative capacities at 4 county departments. I've been with the Chief Executive Office for nearly 10 years, working in the Budget Operations and Management branch, including the last 5 years as the budget manager responsible for health, mental health, and public health budget units. I also manage the budget unit for the Office of Diversion and Reentry. Next slide, please. Many of you may already be familiar with the county budget process, but for those of you that may not be, there are 3 distinct phases. The county's budget cycle runs on a fiscal year basis from July 1 through June 30th. In the next slide, I will go into more detail about the various phases. Next slide, please. An overview of the budget process. So the 3 phases of the budget are spread out over the span of several months. The first phase in January of each year, departments submit their recommended budget requests for the upcoming fiscal year. Since the budget is due to the CEO in January, this means that departments begin their internal process several months ahead of January. The executive leadership team of each department weighs all internal requests from their organization and submits to the CEO those items that are deemed most critical. From February to March, the CEO's office evaluates the requests to determine which items will move forward as part of the recommended budget, which goes before the Board of Supervisors for approval in April. The second phase of the budget, also in April, a very short turnaround between when the recommended budget is approved and when the second phase of the budget commences. Departments submit their final changes budget requests to the CEO, which typically represents minor changes and corrections to their January submission. In May, there is a formal public hearing, as Supervisor Mitchell mentioned at the top of the meeting, that is scheduled related to the budget where community members can provide their input. That meeting for the 23-24 budget process was last Wednesday. Then in late June, the CEO brings forward to the board the final changes budget, also known as the adopted budget for approval. The third and final phase. So in July, departments submit their supplemental changes budget to CEO, where they incorporate state, federal, and other changes. This is also the phase where year-end closing numbers are incorporated into the budget. In October, the CEO brings forward the supplemental changes budget, also known as the final adopted phase, for approval by the Board of Supervisors. So based on the timeline that I just described, as you can see, the budget is nearly a year-long process from beginning to end. Many of the activities and deadlines that I outlined are necessary to comply with state law. So there is not a lot of flexibility in the timeline associated with these dates, again, because many of them are required to comply with state law. I want to focus a little bit on some of the issues related to the budget that may not be very well known to folks, that don't deal with it on a regular basis. So for the county budget, it is important to note that we don't start over every year and decide whether or not to continue to fund all of the previously funded programs. The budget is comprised of base amounts, which represent funding that has been previously approved for existing programs. In each budget phase, the board will consider the incremental changes, which either increase or decrease the base amount of funding that was previously approved and already included in the budget. So if there are no changes in funding for an existing program in a given budget phase, this does not mean that the budget does not include funding for the program. It generally means that the amounts have not increased or decreased since they were last approved. Next slide, please. So this slide is an at-a-glance look at the 22, 23, 24 recommended budget. You'll note here the total budget amount of $43 billion. Roughly about 114,000 budgeted positions are included in the recommended budget. And then we also see here a breakdown that shows the general categories of how the funding is allocated in the budget as included in the recommended budget. So I won't go into detail there, but you can see the breakdown as included on this slide. Next slide, please. So the next handful of slides include various fiscal year 23-24 items that I will highlight. We'll kick things off with Measure H, homeless services and housing funding. This includes $692 million included in the recommended budget to fund the county's new framework to combat homelessness. I won't go into all of the bullets as noted here. You can see them as outlined, the 5 categories that will urgently drive the results given the new framework. What I will highlight is that a portion of the funding is to enhance collaboration with local jurisdictions to help resolve encampments and also to invest, co-invest in housing. Next slide. During this last year, there was the launch of 4 new departments that now have funding in place. I did have the opportunity to participate in as a budget representative in the creation of 2 of the departments, but we'll begin first with the Department of Economic Opportunity. Here, with these next few slides, I won't highlight the total budgeted amount, but that amount is listed on the slides, what the total budget amount is as included in the recommended budget. But what I'll do is highlight some individual pieces of work that are included in the budget. So for economic opportunity, it includes an investment of $32 million in funding for youth at work. And this funding will subsidize work experience for up to 10,000 youth. The economic opportunity budget also includes $47 million to fund one-stop career centers where job seekers can access employment and training services. There was no increase or decrease in funding for this program included in the recommended budget. Rather, this funding level of $47 million represents an amount of funding previously approved to continue the program in the coming fiscal year. Also, the second new department that was created, the Aging and Disabilities Department, $36 million in state funding to protect older adults from neglect and abuse, as well as support for the elderly nutrition program. The highlights for this program include 3.2 million meals served to over 33,000 older adults. Next slide. As I mentioned, I was involved in the creation of a couple of new departments. This included the Department of Youth Development, that includes funding in the budget, recommended in the budget, $34 million to expand diversion programming countywide through various community-based organizations, as well as $17 million in one-time funding for school-based mentorship, truancy, prevention, and other programming. The other department that I assisted on the creation for building out administratively, the Department of Justice, Care, and Opportunities, that includes $39 million to fund non-clinical reentry services that will help remove barriers for the justice-involved individuals, as well as $7.7 million in funding to support alternatives to incarceration through their incubation academy to help support and expand community-based organizations with training and technical assistance. Next slide, please. Okay, as it relates to food insecurity, the budget includes funding for food distribution events throughout the LA Regional Food Bank to invest in rotating sites that's throughout the county. Since as of this month, there have been 33 events reaching 26,000 households. And then also want to highlight a couple of programming efforts through the Department of Parks and Recreation. $9 million to support Parks After Dark, as well as additional funding to expand access to aquatics and summer swim programming. Next slide, please. For this slide, I'd like to highlight the total funding allocations for programs that will roll out over a multi-year period. For certain programs, there is a need to build resources, to budget resources on a multi-year basis to coincide with planned spending. So implementation plans and timing may change if rollout is slower or quicker than expected. One program that I'd like to highlight here is related to digital equity and the need to provide free and low-cost, reliable, high-speed internet in underserved communities, which is definitely a priority focus area for the board. And there is a total of $50 million in funding that will be allocated and parsed out over several years to support community broadband networks. Next, we also have, same slide. We also have the Breathe program, which is a guaranteed income program that provides 1,000 LA County residents with $1,000 per month. The total program budget for Breathe is $46.5 million, and this will help increase the financial stability and overall health and well-being of program participants. Additionally, this program includes the expansion of an additional 200 formerly LA County transitioned aged foster youth. So that kind of provides some highlights related to items that are included in the 23-24 budget. Next slide, please. So as it relates to vulnerabilities on the horizon, I did want to touch on just a couple of things that the CEO is flagging as related to possible budget pressures that may be coming down the line. So we have the first item, the end of $1.9 billion of American Rescue Act or ARPA funding. So with no other funding available to replace this loss, obviously, this is one of the important items that will not be sustainable in the long term, that the CEO will need to keep close tracking of to see how investments will continue if possible. The overhaul of probation, so just adding that there will be the need for potential investments in this area, and so definitely something that the CEO is keeping a close eye on and obviously tracking as far as budgetary pressure. Same with the Department of Justice settlement and the need for additional resources in order to meet the terms of the U.S. Department of Justice consent decree. And then lastly, this is an item that was also flagged at the recommended budget meeting in April, the impending claims related to the Child Victims Act. The range is cited here and it'll be a consideration going forward as it relates to available funding. And next slide. So again, wanted to just touch on a couple of issues. I hope I was able to provide a little clarity around the way that the budget process works, highlighted a few items, noted where there may be vulnerabilities going forward. Along that line, we do welcome the public's input on the budget process. And so this slide does include contact information for how you can submit that feedback. And then also please note that the deadline for comments is 5 p.m. this Friday, May 19th. And with that, this concludes, next slide. This concludes my presentation. And once again, I'd like to express my gratitude to Supervisor Mitchell and her entire team for inviting the Chief Executive Office to participate today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica, for your presentation. I want to emphasize one more thing. I saw in the chat someone talking about their support for DCBA's request. Please heed the last comment from Erica about written comments. You still have the opportunity to submit up to this Friday public comments, which will be considered by the board, the CEO and the board. So sorry. So I think maybe after this event, we'll probably see if we can share that information to you guys, with you guys. So now we're going to move on. Sorry. Now we're going to move on to the public comment part of this meeting. Again, this meeting is for you and for us to hear from you. And again, I will remind you of the steps to leave public comments or our community agreement. The first thing is, please make sure that your comments are respectful. If in case somebody says something that you are about to say, you can put that in the chat. Please be mindful of the fact that we would like as many people as possible to talk. Whenever you want, next slide, please. Whenever you want to intervene, please make sure that you raise your hands. If you're using a laptop or a desktop, hover your mouse over to the bottom of your screen. You will see a smiley face icon with a plus on top. Please click on it and you can raise your hands. If you are calling in, please dial *9 to raise your hands. After raising your hands, please wait for your name to be called. And once your name is called, you will be unmuted and you will have 2 minutes to speak. And if you are calling from your cell phone, the last 4 digits of your cell phone are going to be what I will be calling on. So thank you all so much. And without further ado, we will go ahead and start public comments. Who's the first one? So far, we have no hands raised. I think earlier, okay. So we have, okay, so we have Janet Asante. You have 2 minutes. Oh, one more detail. If you are just joined or you joined after the first 5 minutes of the event, please note that we have Spanish, Korean, and ASL interpretation. In order to have access to those services, please hover your mouse down on your screen, and you will see a globe icon. Please select the language that works best for you so that you can enjoy and get the most out of this event. Thank you all so much. Miss, okay, Janet Asante, I think it's your time to talk. You will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to start out by saying that I'm really grateful to Supervisor Mitchell for holding this town hall. It's really important that the constituents of SD2 are heard. And from what I can see, just from the cameras that are on, it's a really large Black population. And I know with a lot of the communities that I work with in a professional capacity, seeing people who were formerly incarcerated, affected by poverty, and a lot of the systemic issues that we face as a community is really important. So I'll just start there. And secondly, I just want to make sure that, SD2 is specifically during that period where deliberations are able to happen between the supervisors and the CEO's office, that SD2 maintains their position on pushing for funding for Men's Central Jail closure, pushing for our communities to get alternatives to incarceration, pushing for a lot of the things that we know as a community we need, but aren't being funded. So I've always appreciated the messaging that's come from Supervisor Mitchell. It's always very great to hear a reasonable person in the room and someone who really understands these issues, but the funding is the significant gap that we're missing, where money needs to be put towards these programs. So I'll continue to reiterate that at every opportunity, and I'm grateful for this one specifically as it refers to the budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next participant is Byron Jose, and you will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kofi. Good afternoon, team Metro, everyone at SD2. My name is Byron Jose. I work with the Trans Latina Coalition, and I'm part of Reimagine LA, Immigrants Are LA, and other policy and budget advocacy efforts at the county. Again, thank you for opening this space for the constituents. I live and work in SD2. We want to make sure that the community is being prioritized. And we look forward to continuing with your office during the budget hearing during this period. We would like to, again, uplift the needs for transgender, expansive, and intersex communities, making sure that the programs and the different resources and services across the county are inclusive and reflective of that, but also across all the different departments within the county. We look forward to meeting with the CEO. I'm glad that there was a different representative here. The CEO herself has presented at the Board of Supervisor meeting. So we look forward to having opportunities to engage with her office, specifically around CFCI, making sure that a true reflection of 10% locally generated funds are inclusive, are taken care of for a true Care First community investment. And again, not just being lost in the net county costs. This year it was reduced to 88 million. TLC, in addition to leading all these coalitions like Reimagine LA, we were trusted messengers as part of the community engagement. And as the trusted messengers, the county gave us a figure of $100 million, and that's something that we gave to that we were working in the community as part of these efforts. So for the CEOs of cut that, right, despite all the different directors on the board, it just puts us as a trusted messenger right in a position of the community. But again, how do we continue to prioritize this and not just continue funding the service department, the prevention department, and we put forth all these plans around closing messenger jails, around a true community investment look like. So thank you for all your work and the opportunity. We look forward to June 20 to be more public comment once the hearing the community to truly be part of this process and incorporate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker will be Lynn Harvey. You will have 2 minutes, and I want to remind everyone that we also have interpretation. So, you know, for the pace of when you speak, so that you can please be mindful of that, so that whenever you speak, they also have time to translate. Thank you all so much. And Lynn Harvey, you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'll be brief. My personal priority is county libraries. The library system is so vital to every community. And I wonder what I can do and what the public can do to help the budget include funding for libraries, not cut any funding. Is it just by using it that we can ensure it will be well funded? Or what other measures can the public do to make sure our libraries are solid, especially in this atmosphere where there's, the political atmosphere where many libraries are being, closed or affected by politics. So basically, support public libraries, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next participant is Anel Anguiano. You will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. This is my first time being in this meeting. All of you guys are talking about budgets of different things, but you guys don't talk about people like the community, the working parents, that they make a little bit more than what's the low income, and they don't qualify for anything. You guys need, for the next budget, you guys need to work on that, because everything is, I understand there's a lot of things right now going on, but you have to think about the parents. The parents working or not working, making paycheck by paycheck, and it's not enough. But when they try to qualify for something for a low income, they don't qualify because they did $1 more. How can you guys put that in the new budget coming next year? I understand you have budget here and here, but you have to also think about us, the parents that works, that makes check by check every day, and they cannot, sometimes we don't have no food. We have to think about what we're gonna do. That's what I want you guys to acknowledge next time when you guys do the budget. Low income, yes, but you make $1 more, you don't qualify for anything because you're working. But we don't meet our needs at home. You have to decide this and that. But once again, please have it in mind for the next budget. and I really appreciate it that you guys let me talk. And this is my first time. Hopefully, I will continue being in the meeting. Thank you, and keep the good job.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Our next speaker will be Andrew Drush Barks. I'm sorry if I didn't say your name properly.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, Devash Banks is the last name. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Andrew Devash Banks. I'm the Vice President of the Del Air Neighborhood Association. And my comment today is just in regards to advocating for the unincorporated areas of District 2, which there are several, specifically my unincorporated area that I represent, Del Air. The question is, and the comment is more around how to get services. We are at a disadvantage because we are not a city. We don't have a city council to advocate for us. We don't have a mayor's office that we could call. Holly Mitchell in District 2 is our only outlet. And so sometimes it can be very frustrating being an unincorporated area because there is limits to how far we can request services. For example, there's some streets that haven't been repaved for over a decade in our neighborhood that we've had in a queue requesting services for quite some time. So solutions other than just to download the Works app and put in your request in the Works app. Also, is there specific funding set aside for unincorporated areas? Are we prioritized at all? And to my other point, if there's any navigation in this process, it can be very burdensome to try to navigate and figure out how to escalate certain requests other than being told to contact the Department of Public Works or the Pacific Gas and Electric or whatnot. Just really having a strong advocate for us in District 2 for unincorporated areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your comment, and I think someone from our team will provide some more follow-up or responses on the chat for you. So our next participant will be Michael Davis. You will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I am in the University Park USC area, but care very much about collaboration between the county and the city. And I wanted to, first of all, compliment our Supervisor Holly Mitchell, for the work that she continues to do effectively for the county in general, and in particular for the 2nd District. I have a couple of observations that I'd like to comment on. And one, again, is the unhoused budget that you have allocated. And I think working together with the city collectively becomes critically important because in many ways, it seems to be an impossible problem, having considered that we have seen and observed dumping from other localities in our homeless population. So we have the greatest appreciation, I know, in my community for the collaboration that the county has shown in its leadership in the funding for unhousing and its collaboration with the city in that effort. Also, I'm very pleased to see the Breathe program. We have always had a high foster children's rate in SD2. And so it's very rewarding to see that we have a Breathe program that could financially assist those young people as they come out to be productive citizens. And finally, I would like to talk about the future budget. Hopefully, it will include some resources towards recruitment, interviewing, and hiring. And I'm sure that the data is available for us to see what county departments are hiring and which ones are not. We have and always have had a high unemployment rate. But when we have government departments that have jobs that have been unfilled, and we don't have progress towards recruiting, interviewing, and hiring, then it doesn't allow us to contribute to resolving the problem. Government, I think, should be the first example all over. So again, I want to thank Supervisor Mitchell for her outstanding work on behalf of our community, and also would like to suggest that we take a close look at employment, and let's start with county departments. How many of them have innovative programs to help hire some of the people in our county?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we're gonna have to move on to the next person. I think I'm gonna call Wanda Solomon. You will have 2 minutes.
Yes, hi. I'm very concerned about our seniors in the unincorporated area. I have a nonprofit, Single Parents of America, and also Saving Our Seniors. It seems as though they've forgotten all about our unincorporated areas. We're just like on the edge of town about to fall off, and there's no safety net for us. All the programs that we try to inspire is only at senior centers, which are very few. There is a lack of senior housing in our area as well. And the HUD, who is collaborating with the county, has not offered any type of funding other than the Section 8 program for those that are unhoused. However, there's a 9-year wait list, which is just unacceptable for anyone. Also, we're concerned about families, single parent families, whether you're 30 years old, 60 years old, 80 years old. The housing is limited in the unincorporated area, as well as decent schools for our children. We just don't want to throw our children in special ed. Everybody's not special ed. We have some very intelligent families and children, and I would like to see more funds allocated for the programs that I'm trying to initiate in our area. More support for our seniors and youth projects, especially those that have been incarcerated and trying to re-enter our community. That's where the funds should be focused on. And thank you, Holly, as well as our other issues that we face. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. The next participant will be Eddie Fleming. You will have 2 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello. Thank you for the space. I want to thank Ms. Mitchell personally. And to reiterate exactly what the speakers before me was mentioning, and it comes down to the lack of oversight. We really need to unionize the CBO community so that we know what each other is doing. All of these new programs are new, and we're not trained in them. So we're going to have some mishaps, but there's no collaboration, and there's no oversight. And I'm a reentry myself. So I've been home a decade, and I still haven't been able to become acclimated because there's no training, and there's no safe spaces for these youth. There's no safe spaces for the victims or families of mass incarceration, and there's no representation for the community. All these funds are allocated for the community, but the community is not involved in anything that's allocated for them. So I really do believe that a community board in all districts need to be mobilized and digitally put into some type of registration form, because there's no equity and wellness for the community. There's no representation for the community. Everything that went down in City Hall, the community is the one that had to hold that weight, nobody else. So when we talk about our seniors, there's no transportation to go up into the hills to check on our seniors. So we don't know what's going on with them. There's no data being kept, and there's no information being given. That's why I'm big on transportation and mental health. I'm a youth mental health first aid responder. I believe I need a fire hub for a safe space for the community, but people don't see it like that. And that's okay, because I outsource, and what Amity has done, and I want to give them their props, because they have been given advanced funding and keeping data the way it's supposed to have been originally. But again, this is newly founded funds that's being allocated through different measures as far as taxes and whatnot. But I would say unionize the CBO community and get transportation for our seniors.
Thank you so much for your comment. I just wanted to remind every participant that this time is your opportunity to address us on the budget and or the issues that you're facing. If you are joining from a phone, please dial *9 to raise your hands. If you're joining from a laptop or a desktop, please hover at the bottom of your screen. Click on the reactions icon and then raise your hands. In order for you to, talk to us, you'll have to raise your hands, be called, and after which you'll be unmuted to address us. Thank you so much. So the next participant is Lydia Scott. You will have 2 minutes. Thank you. The next participant is Lydia Scott. I think we've been trying to unmute you. You have the possibility to unmute. Okay.
Okay, thank you. My concerns are with Measure H, $692 million to combat homelessness. We, the LA County voters, have voted in the last 7 years for monies to be used for homeless. However, there seems to be more homeless than there was before. My concerns are the breakdown of the money. How will the money be used? Who oversees the money? And how do you combat homelessness? I'd also like to know, in what ways will LA County work with LA City? Where will they merge? Where will they override each other? It seems also that there needs to be a person or personnel in place who has a history with working with homeless people. There are many issues that elected officials have no clue about. And those would be areas that I think would behoove LA County to investigate. And lastly, it's not a budgeted item, but money is being involved with it. I'm concerned about the $11 million that was given to the county to supply pipes for people who use some type of a drug. I'm not sure what it is. However, $7 million went to salaries, which leaves only $4 million for the pipes. Why are the salaries receiving so much of the money that's needed for something else? I appreciate the opportunity to speak before my illustrious supervisor, and I thank you so much for allowing me to have this time. 1,000 thanks.
Thank you so much. Now I want to give the floor to our supervisor who has something to say. Thank you.
What do I have to say, Kofi?
The shout out for.
No, I'm going to do that at the end. I'm going to do that at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to do that at the end.
Okay. Do we have any other public comment? We have no hands raised. That means we don't have any additional public comment. Okay. So Dion Douglas is our next participant. You will have 2 minutes. Dion Douglas, you're muted. Can you unmute? You will have 2 minutes. We cannot hear you if you're talking, but you are unmuted. Okay. Our next participant will be Mark Silverman.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Supervisor Mitchell. Hope you're doing well. I'd like to just add to what Lydia Scott commented on a few moments ago in reference to funding and funding from Proposition H. The LA Alliance lawsuit and Judge Carter. I have a question in reference to that and the funding for homeless programming and mental health issues. Can you please explain to us in reference to how the city of LA has so far agreed to Judge Carter's judgment on the LA Alliance lawsuit? And at the same time, the county of Los Angeles has not been able to sign on to accountability and oversight for new homeless and mental health programs, especially for downtown LA. I live in District 2, but I work downtown Los Angeles and I see what's going on. So that would be great this evening, Supervisor, if you could discuss that for a moment or two. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to remind everyone that this is your opportunity to speak. So I think our next participant will be Janet Asante. You have 2 minutes. Oh, she already.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to say a little bit more, but I wanted to make sure I allowed everyone else to get an opportunity before I talked a little bit more about the budget. I would also like Holly Mitchell in your remarks, Supervisor, if you could talk a little bit about some of the pressures that you're putting on the CEO to fund a timeline for Men's Central Jail closure. Or maybe what are the plans that are in the works for all of the supervisors to really bring things home and make sure that we reach a resolution on these items. In terms of the budget, I think there's a lot of really great things. But what concerns me is, you know, the narrative that there's no funding to pull these things from. I think when we look at the sheriff's department, which are charging, you know, up to $400,000 an officer, and then you start looking at overtime, I think there's a lot of places that we could be serving our communities better in terms of, you know, these deputy gangs. So I would love to hear more about some of the real financial moves that are being made to close Men's Central Jail in a timely manner, or if there's any projected timeline there.
Thank you. I just want to note that, you know, this is just public comment. We're not, you know, we won't be able to answer questions, you know, on the spot or whatnot. But, you know, thank you again for your comment. And I want to remind everyone that this is an opportunity for you to address our team, provide a comment on the budget. So, you know, you will need to raise your hands in order to be given an opportunity to speak. The next participant will be Kevin Gatewood. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I do want to first off thank Holly Mitchell and her team for basically setting all of this up. This is my first time attending a budget hearing as well, or a budget meeting as well. So it's a lot of information to take in. I do want to kind of echo the sentiment of I forget the gentleman's name earlier in regards to the unincorporated areas and just the need for services and just beautification and things like that. What I would say is this: I have been in contact with Holly Mitchell's office quite frequently, and they've been providing me with a lot of data and information that helps me understand their process, so that way I can educate myself as well as educate the community too. And I think that's the key piece that we're kind of missing here in regards to wanting to see things done within our community. So I only hope that I will continue to get that information and data from her office, so that way we can do our part as community residents to help improve our community. But we definitely would like to see a lot more resources and allocation of resources to the unincorporated areas, so we can start to see that beautification process within our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next participant will be Megan Castillo. You will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you all. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan. My pronouns are she, hers. And I'm with the Reimagine LA Coalition. And I definitely want to uplift the sentiments around just concern about the closure of Men's Central Jail and driving resources toward alternatives to incarceration in this iteration of the budget. I think it's really, really important for us to think about what it actually means to put care first and jails last. I know that the CEO's office has often touted the number 6, I think, in the leading efforts for funding, but that is only followed thereafter the sheriff and probation's departments, which are larger than the Care First community investment effort. And so that's something that I think is really, really important to uplift. This year, it's being recommended that there's roughly $88 million new dollars going toward Care First community investment for a sum total of a little less than 300 million this year. So I think it's really, again, really, really important for us to scale up our efforts to actually put Care First and jails last. The CEO is also proposing roughly 50 million to remodel the conditions in LA County jails. And I don't think we should be investing in any carceral systems to remodel or to make jails prettier. I think it's actually really, really important for us to look at ways to address systemic racism and the violence that jails create and perpetuate in our society. So again, just wanting to uplift the need for us to actually look at ways to center Care First and jails last in this iteration of the county's budget.
Thank you so much. I don't see any new speaker. I want to remind everyone that if you just joined, this is an opportunity for us to hear from you and hear your comments on the budget and or the issues that you see the community is facing. You will have to raise your hands in order for us to call on you. So the next speaker is Dion Douglas. Would you be okay unmuting? Yeah, they're muted. But we can't hear them. We cannot hear you. Okay, let's see if we can come back to you later. Because it's the second attempt. All right.
Kofi, while we're trying to figure out Dion Douglas, let me just say, I want to tell people I'm going to go off camera for a minute because I'm double booked. I'm going to have a simultaneous Zoom up. I'll still have my audio on so I can do two things at once. I can listen to you all and participate in my second Zoom. I appreciate your participation. I hope we hear some more public comment. And as Kofi said, this isn't a time for me to respond specifically. We've heard your question. Staff will get back to you. You may see me nodding. Some of the things I want you to know, I hear you. It's not the first time we've heard it, but I really thank you all for participating. And just before I leave, we all saw the news last night of the passing of a giant on the Board of Supervisors. I've had lots of conversations about Gloria Molina today, and the statement I released was really to Supervisor Molina, where I wanted her to know that I was going to continue to honor her legacy by fighting every day for our beloved community of kids within our care. So I hope everybody will pause and just think about what a trailblazer she was, the first woman on the board, first Latina in the legislature, on the LA City Council. As a woman of color elected, she left her mark. I've had the opportunity to spend private time with her since I got elected to the board. And she was very helpful and supportive in mentoring me and giving me sage counsel and advice. So I just wanted to lift up Supervisor Molina before I jump over to my other meeting. So keep the public comment coming. We appreciate you. Thanks, Kofi.
Thank you so much, Supervisor, and thank you also for clarifying. And then do we have, can Dion Douglas unmute? Would you be okay unmuting? Let's see. Yeah, we still can't hear you. Okay, would you be okay putting your question or your comment on the chat? And then one of our team members will answer as appropriate, please. Thank you. Do we have any other person who wishes to address the team on the budget or the issues that they're seeing, they have seen in the community? Again, I want to remind everyone that this is an opportunity for you to address our team on the budget and or the issues that you see are happening in the community. So do we have anyone who would like to address us? Please raise your hands. All right. Did we get the question from Dion yet?
Yes, we're going to respond via chat. Thank you, Kofi.
All right, no problem. All right, I'm gonna do one last call and then we can wrap up. Do we have anyone who would like to address us? This is your opportunity to talk to us about the budget and or issues that the community is facing. Okay. Okay, we have one more person. We have Eddie Fleming. You will have 2 minutes. Thank you. You are muted. You will need to unmute, please.
Was that it?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to thank you all for the space, Team Mitchell specifically. You guys are awesome. Hopefully you guys will come out and meet us sometime, because I've been telling people about you guys and they love you guys and what you're putting out. We just need more safe spaces for them so they can hear you guys and see what's going on. This information is new. So I believe that some type of training for the community would be excellent, especially if they hear from you guys. They don't believe me until they see it. So thank you guys again for the space. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite one of our team members, maybe if Lily is here, or one of the folks who are organizing Juneteenth, so that they can share the information with the community or the participants today. Okay. Okay, yeah, Miss Frederica, would you be okay? Just presenting, talking to the community about the Juneteenth event.
Of course, Kofi, thank you so much. Mr. Fleming had just mentioned that we need to have more of these safe spaces. And so I wanted to mention to all the folks participating who are engaging in the budget process and giving us so much important feedback. Many of the comments, of course, are consistent with Supervisor Mitchell always believes. So we're glad that we're on the right page on going forward on some of these things, and we'll continue to push as well. But I wanted to alert everyone that we are going to be doing our Juneteenth. You probably have participated at Magic Johnson Park the last 2 years, where we have many of the county departments that are there. And one of our requirements for county departments to be there is they actually have to be providing a service. So if DHR is there, they actually have to take people's application and not giving them flyers or bulletins about a job, that we actually do that step to get them done. This year, we're going to do it a little different. There's a program called Cyclavia, where we will shut down Vermont Avenue, Vermont, for about 6 miles, and it go from Expo, so where we have the Science Center and Natural History Museum and our other museums there, and go all the way up to Jesse Owens Park. There will be several hubs that will happen in there. And so there will be resources for expungement of records. We will have different activities for learning about our culture with the museums as well. We're going to have some of our community artists that are there, and we'll have a hub that's related to the arts and things like that. And then, of course, at the end, we'll have the big traditional things that we tend to do. We'll have like maybe some yoga that's there. Breathe LA does a lot of, Walk Good LA does a lot of the yoga in the park at Kenny Hahn Park, which we support all the time. And they do some men healing circles. So if you don't have plans yet for your Father's Day and you want an opportunity to show them some love, we will be having a lot of information there as well, but also a lot of fun to celebrate Juneteenth and providing us resources about what true freedom looks like. So hope you'll join us for that.
Thank you so much. Well, given that we don't have more participants, I just wanted to say thank you again to everyone who, attended today. We had at the top, we had about 110 or so participants. And I want to say thank you to the community for all of your comments. And I also want to say thank you to the budget team and the comms team, and all those who have, prepared and made sure that this event happened. So we have Maeve and Vicky on our team. I also want to say thank you to Lene, Margarita, and also want to say thank you to Kirk. And finally, thank you to Erica for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and address the community with us today. So thank you. So with that said, I think we're gonna conclude today. Maybe for the next 20 seconds, if you want to learn about the budget, we have on the LA County CEO website, you can go on there and you will see more information on the county budget. They have a lot of documents, including some of the videos that you saw today, some of the charts that you saw today. And you also can still reach out to our team. You can reach out to me or to Maeve or to Vicky. If you have more questions about the budget, we'll be more than happy to provide you with a response. And you can find our information on our website, on the Supervisor website. And again, you can go to the CEO's website, which is down here, ceo.lacounty.gov/budget/ in order to get more information on the county budget. Once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come and learn about the budget and provide your feedback to us. Appreciate you all, and you have a wonderful end of the day. Thank you all.